Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 27th, and we're going to have a webinar on creating AVSnap libraries. It's a third session for library creation, and we're ready to go. A couple of things before we start. As you notice, I have AVSnap 6.0.1 software, which has been released yesterday. And if you need to download this version, it should automatically pop up and tell you to update, but you can always go to Help and then check for updates. And in my case, new program is not available, but in your case, it would show up here, a new program is available, and then this would say install, and go ahead and click here and install. If you didn't get notification this morning, then you can check this button right here, and it will check for updates every day automatically. I assume that there will be some feedback and people will find little bugs here and there, so in the next 6 to 8 weeks we'll be introducing some fixes if anything comes up. So just click it here, that's the best way to do it, okay? All right, well, let's move on. I'm going to go ahead and start a new project. And I'm going to change it to letter size A and apply it. So a couple of things. I'm gonna go ahead and close all the libraries, and we're gonna start in a mode where I have a library pane on the right-hand side, design on the left-hand side. And for this, I use letter E as an echo to shortcut between showing the libraries on the top, and then not showing the library pane, and then showing the library pane. Now you can do the same thing under View, and you can see right here under View, you have shortcut E to show library viewer. So you can cycle it just by pressing letter E. The first thing we'll do is to see how we can open multiple libraries. So I'm going to go right here where it says New, and the little arrow on the down, and I say New Library. Okay. Or you can say right-click here, or open, you create a new library here, or add a library. So let's click Add the Libraries. You also have a shortcut A, so you can go either way. Shortcut A will open the same libraries. And what you can do, you can actually select all the libraries that you see. You don't have to open it one at a time, and just say Open. And as you can see, all the libraries will be opened here on the right-hand side. So it makes it very easy. So once you open the libraries, you can also close all the libraries easily. If you're done with everything, you just can close the libraries. So let me go ahead and add libraries. And then click right here, and they're all added here. Okay. And right here, you also have a function called Refresh Libraries. If you're working locally on your machine and you connect it also to network drive and somebody's updating libraries on a network drive, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can start your AVSnap from scratch, close it and open it, or you just click Refresh Libraries, and it will go out and refresh every library that you have here with the latest version of the libraries. One of the features that we have is called Print Library, and it's really, I like it myself, especially when I have a large library. I have a little booklet next to me so I can review library elements and also select quickly what I need. So in Print Library, you can select where you want to print it. So I'm going to print it to PDF Creator, set the margins, and go ahead, apply this, and print. The PDF Creator will create a PDF file. So I'm going to go ahead and save it to the PDF format, and just go ahead and save that. And there I have it. It's a perfectly formatted PDF library of every component that you have here. So you can easily print it, you can give it to people, you can send it as a PDF file to everybody that can look at, or you can create custom components and just send to customer, whatever you decide to do. But I like this feature a lot, and I use it quite a bit when I work with libraries. All right, now that we have the basics, we can print it, we can get things done. I'm going to go ahead and close all the libraries for now. And we're going to start from scratch, and I'm going to say right-click, New Library. Or you can go to the left-hand side and say New Library right here. So either way, you will start a new library. It will ask you to save the current project. I don't need to save it right now. And it automatically creates everything you need to have a new library. The first step to do is to decide what type of library you're going to have. So let's go up to the Properties. and take a look at all the properties. And we went through this before, but I just want to show you a couple of things, and mainly I want to concentrate right here. It's called a diagram symbol, photo symbol, outline symbol, metric symbol, flowchart symbol, and control symbol. So that will help you later on, once you select which library, later on, when you put symbols on the page, depending on which symbol you selected here, different things will happen. So we're going to decide for right now on the diagram symbol. We're going to do first diagram symbol, and then we'll do one photo symbol, and then we'll do also flowchart symbol, and see how they are different in behavior once you put it on the design page. The rest of the things, it's up to you how to fill it out. My main thing here is a designator. So I'm going to create a symbol for a switcher. So I'm going to put MXSW. That would be a matrix switcher. So that's a designator that's going to be on every symbol that I'm going to create. So if I create first symbol, it's going to be MX-01, 02, 03, and so forth as you go through. And finally, I always like to put manufacturer website here for the product, and then for each individual symbol, I like to put symbol website. Now remember, we're in the first symbol, so whatever you put here will be automatically copied to every symbol you create. So you don't want to fill out every single field here, just enough what you need for every other symbol that you're going to create. So let's go ahead and stop right there, and I'm not going to add anything else right now. And we're going to go ahead and create a first symbol here. So I'm going to right-click and say Add New Symbol. Add New Symbol. Now you can see also there's a shortcut N, so you can use this or just say Add New Symbol. So we'll get a new page, and I usually like to do all of my symbols, which is diagram symbols for all of the components that I'm going to use, in the grid of 0.1 inch. If you're in the metric system, double-click here, and you can definitely switch to millimeters if you want, and work in millimeters, 2.54 or whatever you decide, 2 millimeters grid. But in the imperial system, we're going to use 0.1 inch. It seems to work best for most of the sizes that you're going to do. Now notice that you have origin symbol. Origin symbol is important because that will tell you how it's going to snap to the grid once you move the symbol onto the page, once you move it into the design page. So let me show you how we can change things. Let's say if I have a rectangle here, there's a couple of ways I can move the origin. One way is to move it right to the corner of the symbol. So when it shows up on the design page, it will snap to that point, right? The other way, let's say if you had a free drawing right here and you draw your component free, and then you say, well, wait a minute, I need to lock it to the grid. So turn the grid on, and you can see we're off grid right here. So one way you can do it is come to your origin symbol, double-click on it. When you double-click on it, it's going to move, and now you can move the whole grid. And you can put the grid, and it will automatically snap to the corners of the object. So as you move in, it will be, as you get within a few pixels, it will automatically snap to it and stay here. So now, in a few seconds, I adjusted the top left corner to this, and once I did this, double-click, and now we're back to normal movement of the origin. So today we're going to take a look at the product that I have, and we've done this before, but let's just go ahead and, for demonstration purposes, we're going to do UT260-052. And this is what I like to do, how I like to design the symbols. And you'll find your preference may be different. On the top, I always put the model number, UT260-052. I like it because every time I put the symbol on the page, I get the model number right away. So I'm going to go ahead and move it right into the corner here and adjust it, and there's a UT260-052. You may want to also adjust your text size, and in this case I have 17, so I usually want to keep it around 11, 12 size. Okay, move it a little bit here and adjust the rectangle. All right. The next thing I do is a very quick description of the product. So it's going to be 5x2 MX switch. That gives me a quick way of referring to the product once I put it on the page, okay? All right. Now that we have this, on the top, I also want to put a designator. So when I put this symbol on the page, I will also have my designator. Remember, when we copied this, create a new symbol, right on the top, it's automatically copied the designator. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's create a text object. Okay. And I'm going to put designator, which is a £J, right here, designator. And it looks empty, but once you put it on your page, you will have that information here. And finally, I'm going to do the first input. All right. Let me draw the first input to the product. Now, the way that I like to do this, I like to put all the inputs on the left-hand side. I like to put all the outputs on the right-hand side. And if it's a power or control, it may go on the left or right side, depending on depending on the preference. So let's go ahead and just put generic input. Now, let me scroll it out, and it's size 12, so I'm going to decrease this just a little bit so it's nice and clean. Now, notice that when I draw objects, which all of these are objects, rectangulars, circle, and line, they have specific properties. So if you ever want to set default properties, the way to do it is not to select anything on the page and just adjust the properties. So if you want to have a line color, which is red, by not selecting anything and just adjusting the color, you automatically set the color to red. If you want to have the fill color purple, just don't select anything and the fill color will be purple. And the reason I'm saying this is because some people say, why do my properties change without me doing anything? Well, if you play with any of these without anything being selected on the page, you are adjusting the default settings, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and change line to black and fill to white. And the same thing happened on the bottom. If you're changing the line type solid, black, and the size of the line, all of these will be reflected as default settings. So just keep in mind, if you're selecting something, you're changing the property for this particular object. If you don't select anything on the page, you're changing the default properties for the new object that you're going to create. So now that we have our symbol size, we have the model number, we have the designator, the next point is to create a snap point in here. Okay. And a snap point will allow us to put snap later cables to the symbol. So I'm going to put a snap point right here. Now notice how the snap point is off grid. So what I may want to do is to move this on the middle of the grid so the snap point is directly on the grid. So now that we have a snap point on the grid, we need to use the origin so that when we move the symbol to the page, design page, it snaps to the grid. So remember, we have here our designator. So we also have a snap point here. So our origin usually I put right here, top left corner. So now we're confined. If I do Control Select, we confine the origin to the left and the top corner of the symbol. All right. A couple of other things to remember. If I try to put things on the symbol, you can see that the top left corner right now is red color. And why is it important? Because if you have multiple objects together, so I'm going to just create multiple objects together, and I'm going to group them, or you want to move them to group them, you want to know which corner of the object will be locked into the grid. So here, the top left corner will be locked, okay? So if I select this, you can see there's a little rectangle on the top left corner. So you can change that by right-clicking on any corner and clicking Set as a Snap Point. So when you move things around, it now snaps to this corner. So if I want this to be a snap point, I can change it to this snap point. So when you select all the objects in the group, you can decide which point will be a snap point on the grid. All right, and that helps a lot when you have, especially if you have something where you create something that doesn't fit on the grid properly. Let's say I create something that doesn't fit on the grid and only one component fits on the grid. So by turning grid back on, you can see how you need to move something. So you need to select which corner will be the one that's moved to the grid, because obviously these are not. So if you want this corner to be moved, just select it, and then it will lock to that point on the grid. All right. Now that we have our input selected, and I'll just copy-paste input just for the sake of working with it. And we're going to go to a snap point and look at the properties of the snap point. There's a couple of things that that we have added. One of them is description. If you want to have a description, now when you move your mouse over the snap point, it will put information there. So you don't have to double click to know what your snap point is, okay? Because this is called the tooltips. So double click on it, you can add additional things here. So you can say HDMI input female, something like this. As you can see, when I put mouse pointer over the snap point, you can see HDMI input female. That's my description. The rest of it, you can put the connectors. Now, I know that everybody's been asking me to add additional connectors here. I don't know which one to remove, but we'll do the update and we'll do HDMI and DVI and other and display port here. Otherwise, just use others, and if you can put HDMI, you can put HDMI here, and that will do the same thing. The number of connectors actually originally originated from multiple cables within the same cable. For example, if we had S-video, we had 2 wires inside one cable. If we had RGB HNV, we had 5 wires. If you have audio, you may have audio left and right and maybe RCA connectors. So this is where number of connectors comes in. So if I'm going to designate this as the RCA connection, and I'm going to say I have 2 of them, and the category is audio, so that means I will need 2 RCA connectors on each end of the cable, depending. So when I count number of connectors I need, this will take into account number of connectors within the cable. And of course, you can define input, output, connector style, and we've had some people said we need to change male and female to something else, so we will. So we added plug and socket. So we'll decide if to keep this or not. And finally, snap point image. You can put snap point image and decide. So when you hover over the snap point, you will have your image displayed also. So that's a quick way of looking at how we put the snap points in. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. And you can see that on the right-hand side, anytime you change something on the left-hand side, it will automatically adjust on the right-hand side. Let's go ahead on the properties, and what I like to do is to definitely put the shortcut to the manufacturer's website for a symbol. So in this case, it's Altinex with the UT260-052. Sorry, I put it in the wrong place. Let's move it down here. And that's pretty much it, as much as I want to do it. And let's go ahead and save this. We're going to save it to the tabletop right now, and I'm going to call it Altinex Library and save this. Yes, I already had the library there. So we're done, and let's go ahead and go to a new project. So I'm going to click New Project, and whenever you create a library, the library will stay open. So whenever you create a new library, it will stay open, so you don't need to worry about reopening it again. And now moving the symbol is as easy as just dragging it to here. Now notice when I turn the grid on, notice that it doesn't really sit on the grid properly, okay, because my setting was not exactly on point when I did this. So it's very simple just to go and edit library. And the way that this works, whichever symbol you right-click on, that's the one that's going to be edited in the library. So if I click on the one symbol here, I'm not going to save anything here. It will come back right to that symbol. Now notice how this moved, Okay, and that's because I was playing with it, removing grid and so forth. So I'm just going to come back and adjust this back to the right place, save this, and then go to a new project. And we're back to normal. So when I move the symbol in, you can see that it's right now locked in nicely. Now, once you move it on the project page, you can move the origin if you need to snap into a different location. So I can right-click here, and I can say move the origin. So now I'm going to be locking on the bottom right corner. So it's quite easy to modify things as you go through. So I can move here. So let's, okay, default, and we've done that. Okay, great. Notice that on the top, we also have MX switcher 1. The number was automatically added, so if I put another one component here, MX switcher 2. If I put the next component in, I have MX switcher 3. So that allows me, when I run the bill of materials, by pressing shortcut M, I can see that I have 3 pieces. Now notice, because I didn't put any name on the product or anything else, there's nothing here to describe it. And I would add this into the symbol, but it tells me that I have 3 pieces of this particular product. All right, so this is the way that you would take any product that you need to create symbol and create a quick symbol. Once you create a symbol, I'm going to go ahead and go into Edit Library. Once you create a symbol, then the rest of the symbols become very easy to create, because I usually use one symbol initially, and then I copy that symbol. So I can right-click on it, and I can click Duplicate the symbol. Click Duplicate the symbol. Now I have 2 symbols. I can go now when you duplicate the symbol, it will automatically go into the duplicated symbol, so you can start editing right away. So I can change number of inputs. I can change model number. I can add output. So whatever you need to do, and now you have 2 symbols, and just keep duplicating and adding symbols. So the most difficult part in creating symbols is the first symbols, to get everything lined up perfectly the way you want. The rest of them you just copy paste and adjust it, because if you're working with somebody with a product that has a distribution amplifier, or matrix switcher, or HD-based T transmitter, or any Y transmitter, creating one allows you to just change it slightly for the next one. All right. Now I'm going to close this library right now and go to the new project. There's my library. And I'm going to talk about a different type of symbol. And this is what I call formatting symbol. And the reason I do this is so that I have a consistent drawing. So every time I do the drawing, I know exactly how to format the drawings and what the color is going to be. It's a little bit simplistic, but I like it, and it works really well for me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just add this here. So let's go ahead and Edit Library. And I'm going to add another symbol, add a new symbol. And this time, it's a very simple symbol. So I want to make sure that whenever I create HDMI cable, it's exactly the same size, the same width, everything exactly the same. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a symbol. And I'm going to say all of my HDMI will be 2 pixels wide. They're always going to be a purple color. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the cable properties, and I'm going to say this is going to be HDMI net, like this. And I'm not going to put any feeds or anything else, but I do want to show that I want to show both sides. I want to show the net, okay, something like this. So there's my default setting for the cable. And let's go to the properties and say HDMI default. Okay. So I would do the same thing if I want to create default for audio cable. So add duplicate the symbol. For audio cable, I'm going to make it, let's say, blue line color. And in the properties, I'm going to say audio. Okay. So let's just start with these two. I'm going to save it and return back to the project. All right. So notice when I move it in, it's just a symbol. Okay. There's really nothing I can do with this until we go back and modify it and allow it to become a cable as a default cable when I move it to the page. So let's go back to the library, edit library. And what I'm going to do on this symbol, if you look at the properties, I'm going to say convert to object when placed on page. So go ahead and click that. Go to the next one and click. So now we have two cables that will be converted to cables when I place them on the page. So go ahead and save it. New project. And now look what happens. When I move it to here, it's already converted to a cable and I can start using it right away, okay? All right. Okay, so now when I have this cable set up, I can right-click and copy the properties. And they're now in the memory. So when I have new cables, I can select all the new cables on the list that are HDMI, right-click, and paste the properties. Okay. And that will automatically change them. So if I use this cable as the first cable that I'm designing, then I can copy-paste this, and it will automatically increase the HDMI to 1 and 2. But if you create a brand new cables, then it will be just net 1, net 2, net 3. Okay. But that allows me to always format the cables identical way. So what I do, I can create a table of references, and I can just put them next to each other. So anybody who's looking at the drawing, they know what the audio cable is, what the HDMI cable is. I do the same thing with rectangles. I do the same thing with any object that I need to put on the page, pre-formatted and ready to go. All right. The next symbol that we need to talk to, let's go ahead and edit library. We're not going to save anything. And we're going to do a photo symbol. And the photo symbols can be used for many different things, but I also like to use photo symbols to bring photos into the project without actually creating a symbol. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a new symbol. And I'm going to go on the website and just copy-paste the picture. So I'm going to select it using the Screen Hunter, and that software is also available on AVSnap website. Okay. And that's as simple as it gets. Now, you can look at different ways. Right now, the size is 26 kilobytes, okay, which is okay. It's a small little size. But you can also, if you're changing the size of the symbol, let's say you're decreasing it or increasing it, you can re-sample the symbol and make it a little bit smaller. So, for example, if I made a symbol smaller, all right, I'm going to right-click and resample the image. And instead of the 26 kilobytes, we're going to get only 9 kilobytes. So if I look at the 100%, that's what it would look like on the page. Still acceptable, but resampled in smaller size. And I'm going to go back to the properties, and I'm going to click Convert to Object when placed on page, and we're done again. So now, as I build my library, if I need to bring this in, I bring it in as the image, and I can place it on the board. I don't have to have a symbol. I can just treat it as an image, okay? And there's my image on this. So far, we were able to do actual symbols that we can do diagram symbol. We also did the photo symbol, and we also did what we call a definition symbol, or a symbol that allows us to define how our drawing is going to be. Now, some people create, that I've seen, they create one symbol that has all of the definitions. Okay, so instead of going, let's go ahead and edit library. And in this case, you can also copy-paste and come back here and say, I'm going to have one symbol that has all of my definitions. So you can bring, instead of HDMI, you can bring, let's see, let's put audio, let's put control cable here, okay, and the control cable. There we go, control. And you can make it, let's say, green line color. So you can do this table with all of your definitions. You can also do, let's say if you put miscellaneous cables, and you may want to do this in gray line color, and maybe at the same time make it dash like this. So now that you have a single symbol, save this, go back to the project, and you can create a table and just come back and bring this table here. And now, because it's converted to individual objects, you can just copy the properties and then apply these properties to all the cables. So if I'm doing a diagram, I'm going to use the same symbol for purpose of demonstrating. So you can see right now, as I move my cable around, it will find the nearest snap point because I'm using what we call draw assist. So I can just go ahead and connect the cables. I don't really care how they're aligned right now because we're going to fix all of this in a second. So double click, snap here, double click. And even if it doesn't look right away good, not to worry because you can always fine-tune it in a draw assist. So there we go. Now you can go ahead and move them around just by going to the center of the lines and just adjust them as you need it. And if you have a grid, you can just align it to the grid. Okay. So now let's say if we want to define some cables to be a little bit different. So I'm going to say audio cables, copy properties. There's my audio cables, for example, and we have a paste properties. If I have a control cables or HDMI cables, right click, copy properties, and then select them and paste properties. And in 2 seconds, a little bit less than 2 seconds, I can go ahead and adjust all of the cable length and the properties of the cables. All right, the next one, we're going to go back to the library, edit library, and we're not going to save this project. So we're still in the library. Let's go ahead and create yet another symbol from scratch, and we're going to call this the flowchart symbol. So in the flowchart symbol, I'm going to go ahead and create a box, and maybe with round corners, a little bit with round corners like this, and I'm going to put some snap points. And because it's a flowchart, so we originally may want to put the snap points on the top, on the bottom, left, and right. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger right here and put the snap points top, right side, left side. So there's my one symbol for flowchart. So going back to the properties and click it on the flowchart, and I'm done, okay? So let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to right click and duplicate the symbol, okay? And this time, I'm going to make it a quick decision block. And I'm going to put 2 decision points here. And one I'm going to put text yes, and one I'm going to put text no. Yes and no. Now notice that I put them outside the box because inside I want to put some text. If there's some decision to make, I'm going to leave this space for the text. Okay. And there's my symbol decision box. Now, of course, you can make it bigger or smaller. It doesn't matter. But some people like to have a rectangle like this and rotate it 45 degrees. So I'm going to set the rotation angle to 45 degrees. Put a rectangle in. Or there and change it to 45 degrees. Sure, you can do that too. So we're going to go ahead and add a new component, add a new symbol, sorry, and copy paste yes and no. That's what we're going to need. And I'm going to create square, rotate it 45 degrees, and put a snap point on the top. That's my entry, and one on the right-hand side, one on the left-hand side, and one side will say no, and one side will say yes. So remember to go back and make sure that this is your flowchart symbols. If you don't mark it as a flowchart symbol, it's just going to be a regular symbol, and it's not going to do anything. So now that we have three symbols, we pretty much can do any flowcharts now. I'm going to go ahead and save it, and we're going to come back and create our first flowchart by using those symbols. So I'm going to come back on the top and bring the first symbol, double-click on it, and say Start. And the start will appear. Now, because it's a flowchart symbol, it allows you to type things in. All other symbols, when you double-click, you would get the properties, okay, but not on this. If you want to get the properties, you can go to the B, as in boy, for properties, and you get the properties for this symbol. But if you double-click on it, you're only going to get the text. So, for example, if you want to make this adjustable size, right now it's not adjustable, you can right-click and say here, Allow Size Adjustment. And you can do this on all the other symbols also. So Allow Size Adjustment. And now you can adjust the size. Okay. If you don't want it to be adjustable, then just don't do this. Now notice that my origin is a little bit off. And because it's a little bit off, that I cannot really set the origin. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back here and say, move the origin to here. Okay, so right-click and move origin. And now it will now lock in really nicely on the center of it. Okay, so you can fine-tune things that you need to fine-tune it. So now we got the start. We got our snap points. Let's go ahead and put another block here. Then put the yes decision block. Let's put a couple of blocks below it. And then we'll do the end. So there's our basic flow chart if you want to do something. Right away, you can turn the flow chart on, and it will automatically connect things together. It doesn't know how to connect it exactly, but it will connect it. It will try to do things as best as it can to connect things together. So let's go ahead and see if we can fine-tune this connection automatically. So go ahead, turn the flowchart mode on, and you can see that everything gets connected. And so far it's good, but you see there's no reason for these to be connected. So just right-click and delete the snap point. And once you delete the snap point, you're done. The same thing here. Delete the snap point for anything that you do not want to be connected. And it will recalculate how things need to be connected, okay? Now, it always does it by the proximity. So if these 2 points are closer to each other, it will connect it. So if you want this point connected to the bottom portion of it, just move this aside just a little bit right there. And the same thing here. Just move it a little bit aside. These ones you may want to kind of delete snap point here, delete snap point. And the same thing, you can move this. Let's go ahead. We don't need decision blocks. We can just copy paste this. And no need to decision block, and copy paste this. Okay, and there we are. So you can see that automatically flowchart was set up, and then right-click on the flowchart and auto route, and it will automatically route everything. So that's how quickly you can get from symbol design to flowchart to automatically route it. If you don't change anything on the routing, you can unroute it easily and just clear flowchart routing, and it will just remove not sure why it's not doing it, but didn't undo it right now. And don't know why, so I'll take a look at it later. But theoretically what you would do, you would clear out the routing, clear flowchart routing. Yes, I do want to clear it. It's still there. And then you can go ahead and modify this again. You can also click here, and you can delete this, and you still have connection. Okay, so any one of these routing can be deleted, but the program will remember all of the connections that you had before. All right, so this is your symbol. So let's go ahead and finish with this. And now let's go a little bit into the management of the library. So far we've covered, if we go to the properties, we've covered the diagram symbol, we've covered the photo symbol, we looked at the flowchart symbol, all right? And there's also such thing as a control symbol. Let's go ahead and see if we can look what the difference is. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this. We don't need it. Right-click, Edit Library. We don't need to save the project. And let's go ahead and create a new symbol called control symbol. Now notice the control symbol needs to have a pixel mode. Right now you're 8.5 by 11 inches, so we're going to go ahead and create 640 by 480 so we can have a pixel mode. Because once you have a pixel mode, then you're able to do a control symbol. And I'm going to go ahead and set up my origin and create a rectangle. So you notice that sometimes I go to the tools, but many times I don't even go to the tools because I use the shortcuts. And as we discussed before, press F1 and you'll see the shortcuts. Also, the help for the AVSnap has been adjusted. Not everything, but lots of chapters were adjusted, and we will continue working it and provide updates as needed. But in the user guide, you can see that the user guide, everything has been updated to the latest versions. So all of the symbols, all of the mouse pointers, everything is updated. So it's easier for you to connect with the current version and the help file. Okay. So we'll go ahead and make a control symbol. There's a couple of things you can do. For example, one of the things you can do in the control, you can put the TCP port and make it as a control symbol and predefine how you want the TCP port to be. So you don't have to create it from scratch every time. So you can click here and you say, this is going to be my Neutron controller 1. I'm going to be using control. I'm going to use adapters all. I know that I'm going to be controlling 192.168.1.51, for example. Port 23, local port, don't touch that, not until there's some specific areas where you want to adjust it. Most of the time, leave it at 0. Timeout 1,000 milliseconds. And buffer command delay, you don't need to do anything here. And trigger name, yes. And now you have the trigger name and everything adjusted. So apply this, and there's your symbol. Okay. Let's go ahead and now notice that there's additional tab now. It's called Control tab. You see Pages, Properties, and then Control pad. And you can actually now designate commands and descriptions. So command name, you can say VCR on. Okay. You can also go ahead and put the actual command. So, for example, open bracket, let's say PJ on, close bracket. That's the actual command. If you need to put ASCII code here, you can put $0D for carriage return, for example, and it will enter carriage return for you. And then description turns VCR on. So you can see that you can document as many of these commands as you want, okay? And you can add them, remove them. You can also do not transmit carriage return, do not transmit spaces. So you can build the library of all the commands for any specific product that you're going to be controlling. That's what control library gives you. And then you just save this, all right? Let's go back to the project. Now, as you can see, when I moved it here, I'm already moved it to the page, and it's all pre-configured how I want it to be, so I don't have to. I can definitely move it from here, TCP object, But then you can see that I have to reconfirm or readjust it every single time. But once I configure it once, I just use them over and over again, okay? Now, in this case, if you have a symbol that's related to specific projector or VCR or DVD or cable box, you can have all the commands available. So when you start doing programming, just double-click, and all the commands are available right here. You don't have to go to the user guide or anything else. So that's a control symbol, and that's how to design a control symbol. So we've covered most of the symbols that are available. The rest of the symbols, if you go, for example, here, the rest of the symbol types, okay, metric, outline, they're pretty much the same as a diagram, but it just gives you ability to sort them. So if you have multiple types of symbols in the library, then you can actually sort it by symbol type. Now, personally, I like to create different libraries for different symbols types. I try not to mix them in the same library. Now, a couple of other things, and we'll move on in managing the libraries. If you move the symbol on a page, you can also save the symbol individually. If you want to send it to somebody, a specific symbol without the library, then you can just right-click and say Save the Symbol. A saved symbol would be ASB, okay? And you just put it on the desktop and call it whatever you want to call it, my symbol. And what's nice about it, you can later open and bring the symbol directly to the page. So it gives you a couple of ways to bring the symbols in. Now, controlling or managing the libraries, when you install the program and you go to the library, add library, it will automatically bring you to program files, AVSnap, library 6.01, so libraries are now matched with the version of the software. And then in this particular case, there's two folders with libraries that we're supplying. One is the Altinex, that's our libraries available, and the other one is the general. In general libraries, it gives you a quick way of bringing general libraries in. So in this case, you have, for example, electrical symbols. If you're trying to do a quick electrical diagram, then you have the electrical symbols that you put in. We also give you pages. So if you want to format a page, you can quickly format a page. Okay. So let's go ahead and double-click, move it to a size, apply, delete this, and double-clicking on any of the pages like size A, it automatically puts the page frame. You also have AV equipment, so if you want to have the video conferencing, you can bring video conferencing in. Let's say touch panel, you can bring the touch panel. Most of them are adjustable, so you can put it in. Visualizer, you can put it in. So you can quickly microscope. Anything projector, so anything that you need to put in the system to quickly do a quick sketch, then you have all of this available, and we've already done it for you, okay? And you have two libraries, 3D AV Library 1 and then Library 2. Just has additional components here, keyboard, printers, push buttons, servers, or if you need to put a wall here, so you can put a video wall. And in addition, we have what we call button bitmaps. If you're designing something and you want to have a nice button, you can kind of put it in and add it to the button. So we've created a bunch of buttons here. Glass buttons, if you want to create, and let's put 100%, so little glass buttons for you. So they're just generic. You can use it at will. And that's pretty much covers everything I want to cover in the library. In the management of the library, just a quick note. You need to decide if you're a large organization, then you need to have a common place for the libraries to be located at. In our case, if I put an add library, I usually go to a Y drive, and on the Y drive, that's where I have all of the libraries. So in the Y drive, if I go to Y drive and I go to library, AV, you can see that all of the libraries locate here. and they're controlled, and only one librarian can modify it. So you can check out libraries and you can open them from here, but you can't really modify them. And if you want to have a local copy, you can have a local copy and you can adjust it any way you want. But if you want something, some adjustment to the regular library, it goes through librarian, she modifies the library, puts it in, it becomes released, and everybody can use it at the same time. So it's up to you how you want to set it up to manage the libraries. So with this in mind, let me go ahead and pause sharing just for 1 second so I can switch to different option here. And give me 1 second. Webinar options.
All attendees are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6.
And let's go ahead and share the screen again. So right now we're in a unmute mode, so if you guys have any questions or you have anything that we want to discuss, you can go ahead and unmute yourself on a button. I went ahead and I opened things up so that you can ask the questions if you have any questions. If not, it's all right too. We can just go from here. So I'm going to go ahead and clear everything. There's a new. So some people ask me, well, what's new in the AVSnap? A couple of things are new. One of them is, you notice there's no more meeting menu, and the reason is we used to have an option that allows us to meet using AVSnap and share the screens. But with the current advances in the screen sharing technologies, something like AnyMeeting or GoToMeeting or Join Me meetings, they're so advanced now, there's no way we're going to compete with them. So we kind of decided to delegate this function to dedicated companies who have already done it, and we're going to focus on our core view here. And our core view is designing systems, any type of systems. So you'll see there's no more menu on this. Now we've adjusted some examples for the design project libraries, control libraries, and control projects. And right here, we also added the ability to send the file. If you click here, Send File, you can send file to Altinex support, and you can also send to another user. And especially if you work with other users, you can send it directly. So I can, click on it, and I don't want to put expiration date, but it automatically creates the email and puts the description and put the file in. Okay, and then you can send it to somebody else. We also have here what we call a drafting services. It's not an active option yet. It will get you to the AVSnap website, but we will be opening a section where people will be able to request drafting services, and will be able to do diagrams, whatever needs to be done on AVSnap. So we hope that this section is going to kind of grow a little bit bigger. There are many internal changes and improvements, and I have a section. All right, the question we have is 64-bit version versus 32-bit version. It will install on both. So most of the drivers, pretty much all the drivers that I've put in the system are 32-bit system, and the reason is because we want to have backward compatibility. If there's a specific environment where you cannot install it, let me know. We'll set up the same environment and test it and do the update if that's what you found. I haven't seen that, but definitely email me, support@altinex.com, and we'll take a look at it right away. I know for sure that in the next few weeks we'll have the feedback from users, and we'll know if some of the things, maybe we broke some of the small things, but I'm hoping that it's going to be minor issues. Okay. So of course, one of the big ones, and I described it last time, is a display PDF, and this is quite important for us because I always struggle to combine and separate files. I've used PDF softwares, and it makes it a little bit awkward. That's why we decided to design our own. So you have two sections in here. So You can play with this option, just right-click and you'll have open PDF file, close it. You can drop the files directly. But I think you'll like this function quite a bit. If you look at what's the future for AVSnap, there's many different things that we're going to be adding to AVSnap. And one of the important things, we're going to be adding capability of mind mapping on AVSnap, so that's going to be our next priority. We also had lots of requests for PDF, not PDF, import DXF, import PDF, and convert it to the line drawing on AVSnap, so that will be done also. We're updating so you can import both the DXF and DWG, which is the AutoCAD native format, so that's coming. And you're also going to be able to export in DXF and DWG. Currently, you can go ahead and import DXF files, but they're all revision 13. We're going to be updating to the latest version, so that's our next big push on this. And you also have a file explorer that's been updated and kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility. So sometimes files, if you get in a state where you don't know exactly where the component is, or you don't know exactly how it needs to be fixed, or some component is defective. So you can always go to the File and File Explorer. And what File Explorer does, it gives you all the objects that you have in the project. So you can click on each of the object, and you can see when you click on the object, it actually gets selected here. Okay, and it gives you basic information about the object, where its location, and so forth. And you can allow to edit, and if there's other properties, you'll see other properties, and you can go ahead and adjust this if needed. We've seen many places where it can be used, but mainly if you have some objects below other objects, you can't find them, you don't understand where they are, just go back to this. The other thing is, of course, is if things go wrong and something doesn't work, you have reset defaults, and defaults will put it back to factory condition. So if I'm going to go ahead and reset defaults, it will go ahead and close the AVSnap completely, and then when you open this, you'll end up the same way as you just installed it. And when you just installed it, you have a welcome message here, and you have a basic library on the right-hand side. So just clearing this up, just creating a new project, and then close all the libraries, and you're back to where we are. So that's pretty much finishes everything that we've done today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me, or you just email us, and we'll be able to help you on AVSnap. But the bottom line is, again, I'm going to thank you for coming in and spending 1 hour with me on Tuesday morning. And if we have a couple of more weeks left to finish the rest of the AVSnap, and then we're ready to go. If you have any other features, please feel free to just email me, and we'll add other features as we start updating the AVSnap. Thanks again, and have a great morning.